every bit, all between. Surely this jar will hold 14. Dave Drake, July 12th, 1834. I gotta ask you, so who's Dave?
Who is Dave?
Yeah,
Yes.
who is Dave?
He's a slave.
Right.
He was born, we believe, perhaps in 1801.
Okay.
He was was referred to later on as he was country born, and which means he was born in this country.
Yeah.
He was a slave potter.
Yeah.
But he didn't, which was pretty amazing back then, because generally slaves were not allowed to get or master artisan skills like making pots.
Gotcha.
They worked in the field. They were laborers, is what they were meant to be. But he was a potter, and then even more unusual was he had learned how to read and write.
Yeah.
And that is just extraordinary, because not only is he on a small percentage of slaves who has an artisan skill,
Yeah.
but he's an even smaller percentage of that who knew how to read and write. The only avenue he had to publish his poems was on the side of a pot.
Well, right.
But when you put it in context, Walt Whitman's first edition of Songs of Myself, he self-published through a phrenology store. The other great strand of American poetics is Emily Dickinson. We have Whitman, who's the external, going out into the world. Let's think. I have a little, like from Song of the Open Road. Afoot and light-hearted, I take to the open road, healthy, free, the world before me, the long brown path before me, leading wherever I choose. There's this expansiveness and embracing of Whitman, and Dave has a little bit of that in some of his poems, but he also has the other strain, which is a kind of moving toward the interior of American poetics, which is Emily Dickinson. And, she talks about how she published her poems in this way, which is really kind of funny. Is she talks about publication is the auction of the mind of man. And when she talks about that, the only kind of auction in mid-19th century that was present really at that time, it wasn't those little nice, quaint New England auctions where you get a nice set of silverware,
right,
or something like that, or a beautiful Queen Anne's chair or something like that. She was referring to the slave auction,
of course,
because Amherst was the hotbed of anti-slavery, and so. And her minister was one of the biggest proponents of fighting of abolitionism. And so for her to say, publication is the auction of the mind of man, she is saying that that there's this dangerousness to going in publication. So she never published her poems. So we have these kind of two extremes.
Okay.
And then we have Dave who had
middle.
Found his own accommodation.
Yeah.
Which is just amazing. And he wrote the poems on the sides of the pots he made.
What type of poems were they?
They were little couplets. And so they rhymed at the end.
Right.
When you have a rhyme on the end of a poem, you can make a little joke by bringing those two words together through the sound of the rhyme. So
I'd love to read it. I'd love to read it. Another trick is worse than this. Dearest Miss, spare me a kiss. August 26, 1840. That's fun?
That is so much fun. He's asking somebody for a kiss. The small human drama he's put into a couplet, 2 lines of poetry.
And the human drama is enormous, because it touches on all of our humanity.
Yeah,
right?
no matter who you are, you have these kinds of human dramas and moments.
Yeah.
And what makes this even more incredible is that at the time, he was considered nothing more than a piece of property the way a chair or even one of his pots
Sure.
was a piece of property.
Sure.
And here he is revealing humanity in the face of the inhumanity all around him.
All around him, yeah.
And that is just extraordinary.
But he's also looking all around him
Yeah.
at his fellow humans
Yes.
who are not being treated humane. And then when you think about it, even the slave masters had penalties that were severe for seeking to be humane.
Who is he writing for? Is he writing for his fellow slave community? Is he writing for the people who work in the big house and in the kitchen in the big house? Is he writing for white people as well?
Okay.
Is he writing for Mr. Miles?
I want to throw one more in there. Just
Yeah.
that, one of the things I love about it is I have this sense that he's also writing for his legacy. I think he understands. I think Dave understands that somehow the written word has an opportunity, if you will, to be eternal, and that so it's interesting because I think in some way he's writing for himself.
Yeah. So who was Dave?
Yeah. What do you think our responsibility to Dave is? Where do we go
I
from
think
here?
our responsibility is to Dave is to spread his word.
Mm.
Because we know and everybody else doesn't, and so we need to let them know about
We
Dave
need to
because
let
people
them
don't
know,
know.
'cause they don't know.
The poets I know, none of them know about Dave.
I know.
And English departments that I talk to, nobody knows about Dave.
Well, I just want to say I thank you very much for sharing your insights about Dave and discussing how he influenced your life. And my dad used to tell me, if you're going to do something, you should try to make an impact. And I think that Dave, in sharing his story, we get to make an impact.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me to come talk with you. It's been really fun.
Cool. Thanks, man. Yep.